My colleagues will be joining us because they, like I, am very concerned about jobs. We're working on health care, which is very important, of course, but it's critically important, having been through a serious and steep economic downturn, for us to worry about putting people back to work. There's no social program, in my judgment, that is more important than a good job that pays well. We've seen millions and millions and millions of people lose their jobs during this economic downturn. What we're trying to do with this hearing, the hearing is titled Removing Barriers to Job Creation, Are Banks Lending to Small Businesses That Are Ready to Hire? ? Senator Durbin and I have been tasked by the Majority Leader to put together a jobs package. What kind of incentives, initiatives can be useful, particularly to stimulate the private sector and particularly small and medium-sized businesses, which are the principal job generators in our economy, to begin to be able to expand and to hire workers. It is startling to me that recent data shows that in 1993, 16% of small businesses relied on credit cards to finance their day-to-day operations. According to the National Association of Small Business, April of this year issued a report saying 60% of America's small businesses now use credit cards to help finance their day-to-day operations. Access and the ability to acquire credit is a very, very serious issue. So the question for this hearing is, on this particular subject, what can we do to address that? As many of you know, in order to try to resolve this steep economic decline, about a year ago, there were votes here on something called TARP money. TARP funds went out to some of the biggest financial institutions in the country. When that happened, Secretary Paulson said, quote, "Our purpose is to increase the confidence of our banks so that they will deploy, not hoard, capital." According to a Treasury Department report released this past month, the 22 banks that have received the most funding through the TARP program, the largest institutions in this country, have cut their collective small business loan balances by $10.5 billion over the last 6 months. Let me say that again. These are the biggest financial institutions in the country that have gotten massive amounts of money to save them from collapse a year ago, who are now reporting, in many cases, record profits and reporting that they're going to pay very large bonuses, and they've cut back lending to small to medium-sized businesses. I think it's an outrage. Now, the FDIC reported this month that U.S. bank loans fell by $210 billion, the biggest drop since the FDIC started keeping records in 1984. So the question is, what can we do about that? What kind of policies and approaches could we use to try to stimulate lending again, to allow those businesses that are ready to expand, that want to expand, so that they could access the credit to expand and then put people on the payroll during that expansion? The list of witnesses that we have today are going to discuss these issues, and as Senator Durbin and I and many others work to put together this initiative on jobs, one of the significant issues is access to credit by those small and medium-sized businesses who want to expand and want to hire people. We're going to hear today from Alicia Lingenfelser, is the owner of 4D Equipment and Services, a successful small business in Dallas, Texas, that leases trucks to haul concrete. We're going to hear from a witness from Illinois that my colleague Senator Durbin will introduce, Ivan Matsunaga. Also, Barbara Biller is co-owner of Intelitech, a small manufacturer in Westminster, Maryland, that makes liquid filling machinery for the biotech and pharmaceutical industries. They've grown and are ready to expand. She'll talk about their difficulty in getting access to credit. And finally, we'll hear from a well-respected economist and a friend of ours, Mark Zandi, who will discuss some of the policy solutions that could fix the credit problems for small businesses. Dr. Zandi is the chief economist and co-founder of Moody'sEconomy.com, where he directs the company's research and consulting activities. Senator Durbin, I had asked if we could, I'd like to call on you for a comment, if we could forego opening statements following your statement, go right to the witnesses so that we have time to answer questions because of the caucus that begins at 11:30. Let me call on Senator Durbin.
Thank you, Senator Dorgan. And as you noted, Senator Reid has asked us to head up an effort to talk about the economy and job creation. And we have engaged our caucus, a very talented group of people with wonderful staff support, and have come in starting with 121 ideas. We are trying to cull these down to the most important and most effective strategies. Some of them are fairly obvious. First is infrastructure. We're fortunate to have the senator from California here who is in a key position in terms of infrastructure investment. Senator Boxer will be leading that discussion and leading our effort along with the rest of the caucus. But another area that we came to quickly was the plight of small business, where we know there's so much opportunity for job creation. Now, I did implore Senator Dorgan to consider having this hearing in the afternoon, at least after 12, so that my guest witness here, Mr. Matsunaga, could bring Connie's Pizza with him. And you can understand why he is such a successful businessman. He has 2 Connie's Pizza establishments in prime locations, the best locations in Chicago, Navy Pier, the #1 tourist attraction in the city of Chicago, and McCormick Place, which of course attracts thousands, hundreds of thousands of visitors to conventions. And Mr. Matsunaga has been a successful businessman, graduate of Cornell, head of the Illinois Restaurant Association. He knows this business, knows it well, has a great product, great locations, needs some credit assistance, and ran into a brick wall. His is the story of many across our economy who want to create and protect good jobs and have run into obstacles. So I'm glad he's here as a witness, Senator Dorgan, and though I have to leave in 10 minutes or so, I'm going to be at Connie's when I get back to Chicago. Thanks.